Welcome to Unbothered Millennials. On this very first episode, we're gonna talk about long distance relationships. Do you know why we're gonna talk about that?
Because that's basically our story.
Exactly!
Yeah.
We met on a dating app,
Yeah.
pretty much. And I wasn't fully convinced when we met because I got very weird, like a lot of weird people on that.
Yeah.
Like especially Indians. Oh.
What do you mean Indian?
Well, first of all, people already kind of know, like, you are Indian, I'm Mexican, like.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of Indian people that were so weird.
Really?
So weird, man.
In my case, because I didn't get to meet so many people, but I get like, what's the, I would say, psychology behind online dating. Because typically, not everyone is looking for a serious meetup, or not everyone is looking for a serious relationship, right? So it's like, okay, let's get into it and see if you can find, depends like whatever you're looking for. So that's not what I was in online dating, right?
Yeah.
Because I had some really bad experiences in past, and I was like, I'm looking for a good girl and I'm looking for a serious commitment. If it's a short term or then it's a waste of time for me, and I'm not ready for that.
I wasn't even looking for something serious.
Really? Wow.
And then you came along and I was like, well, I guess this is it.
Yeah.
And I remember that you immediately like asked for my number. I was like, okay, this is weird, that fast, but let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Why not?
I mean, you have to play smart because if you're meeting someone online, I think first, that's how I think. If you like a person, you should get their number at least so you can maintain the conversation.
Yeah.
Because if you're online, then I'll go to that app, I'll see, is she online at this time and when was she online, and things like that. So that's...
And then it's easier to lose like a contact in
Exactly.
because people just delete it and that's it.
Yeah. So that's the reason, I liked you. I said, okay, give me your number.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about logging into the app and then sending you a message, hey, how's it going? Then you are replying 2-3 days later, yeah, I'm good, what's up?
Yeah.
I don't believe in those kind of conversations.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, they're kind of like boring at first. Like.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think, personally, our first phone calls were so awkward for me. Because, like, my main language is Spanish. I was living in Mexico. You were living here, so you were kind of already used to talking in English, right?
Yeah.
Like, speaking in English. So I was kind of like, what do I say? Especially because we're, like, strangers. We've never seen each other in person. Like, it was like, maybe he's not even real. Like, what if,
It's also the sort of anxiety, and when you're talking to someone who's a stranger, like we were talking, like, we get to know each other, our backgrounds and families and all that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a phone call, like, let's talk. Then you're like, okay, what I'm going to talk about? Like, I'm anxious and I don't know, how the other person reacts.
Yeah.
So I understand it, but I was like, no, because we have to start somewhere. And if you don't talk, then what's the point?
Yeah, obviously, like, you have to make sure it's a real person.
Yeah.
And, like, first we started with only, like, voice calls. But then it was like, okay, I think we should, like, do video calls. Because, like, what if this is fake,
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I've been in those cases, like, a lot of times. So I was like,
So
what, let's not risk this.
So you were catfished?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's another story. We were like that, like, in a long distance relationships for like 4 years.
Almost.
No, it was 4 years, no? Something like that.
Yeah, close to 4 years.
No, it was 4 years.
Mm.
It was 4 years, don't believe him.
And then I think after 4 months, I made a decision to fly to you, to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Because initially we were discussing, okay, how it's going to work out. Because we have been talking for almost 4 months now.
Yeah.
Now let's take a step further and see each other. And then I think initially I asked you that why don't you come to Canada?
Yeah.
And then I thought you discussed that with your parents.
I kind of mentioned it to my mom, and she was like, "Are you crazy? You're a girl, like, you're a nice girl. You're not gonna go to another country, blah, 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 to meet a stranger. He has to come here. I don't know." Like, all that, like, Latina culture.
And I think I understand it. For example, if I have a sister and she's flying overseas to meet a stranger,
it's like,
then you can be the best person on phone. Like, you're like, okay, I live in Canada and I'm this and that. But unless you meet someone in person, unless you see their behavior and body language, you cannot really, assume things.
Yeah, because it can be kind of like dangerous, like
absolutely
flying to somewhere.
And especially like I know when I mentioned to my friends and even some of my coworkers, including my family, I said, okay, so I meet this girl and I'm flying to Mexico. They're like, you flying to Mexico? Make sure it's safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's everywhere you go, you find good places and bad places. Like, it's not just specifically a country. Like, there's some countries that are more dangerous, but like, it's all up to where you go.
It's pretty much everywhere, but depends on which part of the country you're living in, right? And
you have to know where you go, I think.
And I think it took us 4 months when obviously I decided to meet you. And I vividly remember the first meeting that I had. It was you at the airport with your mom and dad. And I saw
How are you feeling? Well, because we already knew the time you were gonna arrive, but we got there so late. I mean, it wasn't super late, but I was trying my best to be there waiting for you when you came out of the gates. But that did not happen. I remember we arrived and you were like waiting for us there.
I was quite anxious, to be honest. But I was also courageous because I made a move to fly to Mexico to meet a stranger. So I was very confident about you. So, but definitely like meeting you in person for the first time and when your family was there, it was a little overwhelming.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. But I mean, come on, like I knew why I'm going there and I was positive, and so yes, I was overwhelmed, but I was more happy and more positive as well on the same side.
First meetings can be like very overwhelming. It was like very anxious to me because I was like, what if we meet and it's not like the same chemistry that we had on the phone or
Absolutely. Whatever. And also sometimes you look different on the pictures and in person you
exactly,
get catfished.
Exactly. I was like, what if he doesn't look like the pictures or like the video, he picks a different angle and that's why he looks so good, or like stuff like that go through your mind, like until you meet you in person, you're like, oh, okay. But still it was kind of weird
because I mean
first
people
couple of days.
Absolutely, because people say that inner beauty and this and that, and it doesn't matter the way you look, but I think when you are in online dating, that's the first criteria that you pick.
It does matter.
It does matter.
Even if you like someone ugly, he is beautiful to you. That's just your type.
Looks matter, I think. But looks are not everything.
Of course.
I'm a complete advocate of that opinion as well. But I saw your picture, you were pretty. I was like, okay, she looks like a good match. Otherwise, if it wasn't for the picture, then why would I bother flying to Mexico, right?
And like before this, were you like in a long distance relationship?
Never.
No?
No.
Okay.
I was never in a long distance relationship, but I had a girlfriend and it was kind of a long distance because I think we were meeting once every 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
Because she was in a different city, I was studying, and then it just didn't happen.
It was here or in India?
Back in India.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear sometimes like people complaining like, oh, we can't see every day, or like we see each other like every like once in a month or whatever.
Yeah.
And they live in the same country.
Exactly.
Or like in the same town or whatever, and it's like, or like 3 hours away driving. Or I don't know, and it's like, really?
I mean, that's the thing. At least don't complain, right? And when I hear those people talking about, oh, we are meeting only 3 times a week. I was like, okay, how far is your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Oh, he's 3 hours away
He's
from
2 hours
here.
away. It's
I
like,
was like, take your damn car and drive to your boyfriend, right?
get out, boss, man. Like,
Yeah. And in our case,
especially when we were already like dating, like officially, like when you asked me and all that, like you were here and I was there, whatever.
mhm,
I heard people complaining and I was like, what? Because we had to take a flight.
Yeah.
It's not super easy.
yeah. Was it something that you knew before about long distance relationship? Like, what was your psychology behind it?
Well, I just know it was like hard because
Mhm.
there could be like different time zones, like schedules or activities, and
Mhm.
like you don't have the same free times.
Yeah.
So you had to make like, okay. I just knew it was hard, and I knew some people that were already in one, so I was like, maybe it can work.
hmm I mean, also in our case, our time difference wasn't that much. Like, I think you were 1 hour behind of
Yeah.
Canada, so it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
But if it's a complete different time zone,
If
then
you were in India, I think this would have never worked. Because it's like 12 hours.
yeah. And then I have to be up in the night so I can talk to you
Yeah,
while
exactly.
it's morning in Mexico.
Or like I could be up all night and then you were in
Yeah.
the morning. Like it would have never worked. I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, since I didn't have like a long distance relationship, so my perception was pretty much similar with most of the people that it never works, right? Because when two people are at a far distance, you don't know what's happening in the background because, yeah, you're texting and calling, everything is fine. But the whole point is, okay, eventually where it's taking you, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we are in LDR for 6 months or a year. Okay, what's the next step?
Yeah.
People have no idea.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if she's gonna fly to me or I'm gonna go to
No,
her.
I mean, you have to talk about it before you take the flight back.
Mhm.
So you kind of know, like, okay, we're meeting, like, next time we meet, it's this time,
Yeah.
you know?
But my point is more about meeting in person that doesn't happen frequently
Oh, yeah.
in LDR. So that's very challenging.
Mhm.
And also, I think people cheat.
Mm.
I have that.
Yeah, there's a saying, like, well, in Spanish, in Spanish.
Spanish.
In Spanish,
Spanish.
it's amor de lejos, amor de pendejos, which translates into love from afar, love for dumb ass, something like that.
Mm.
Or like Maluma's song, Felices los Cuatro.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you have a side chick and I have a side dude.
Yeah.
Like,
And both of you are happy at your own places and you're pretending that we have a relationship which is perfect, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, when I spoke to my friend, they were like, she's not even in Canada, right? So if you are within Canada, okay, I can take a flight, few hours here and there,
Yeah.
we can make arrangements. But when I'm crossing the border flying to Mexico, honestly, it wasn't hard for me
Yeah.
because I was determined, no.
It was
this-
I think it was kind of hard because I remember you mentioning, like, the first time you went, that nobody spoke English at the airport.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
In Mexico City.
Yeah, and correct, because I have to change terminal at Mexico City
Yeah.
and I have to go from T1 to T2.
And you had to take a train.
Exactly. So there was a connecting train from T1 to T2 and I was asking the airport staff, okay, where do I go to take the, connecting
Yeah, the
train?
train, yeah.
And nobody speak English. And my layover wasn't that big,
Uh-huh.
so I didn't have enough time to
Oh,
figure it
no.
out. So I somehow spoke to this security guard who was speaking broken English.
But
So
at
he made me, go to the right
Oh,
spot.
that's good.
But
Yeah, it's weird that at an, like, international airport, they don't speak, like,
yeah,
at least English. Like,
Yeah.
not all languages, but, like, English is kind of, like, worldwide,
Yeah.
I think.
and Mexico City, I think that's the biggest airport of the country,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people not speaking English there, was surprising for me.
Yeah. I remember, like, when I told my friends that I was dating that I was talking
Mm-hmm.
to an Indian dude, they were so concerned. They were
Really?
like, oh my God, no. But if you go see him, like, they're gonna like steal you or whatever.
Steal
Because they
you?
have that misconception.
From where?
No, like, oh no, but then if you go to India, like they're gonna take away your passport and all that. They were so concerned because they knew people that happened something like that. So I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen, and it hasn't happened because I haven't been to India yet. But I don't think it will. Like I already like know your family kind of. Like they're so super nice.
It's understandable because I think those opinion makes you question the entire country, right? For example, have never been to Mexico before, right? And people were telling me, apart from people, I was in an impression that, okay, is it gonna be safe?
Yeah.
But
Because like also that's what you see in movies and
Exactly.
series and everything.
So I was like, okay, I'm flying to Mexico. It's Torion, but is it gonna be safe? And until I met you and you explained me the whole thing, I was like, and it applies for India as well. As your friends were telling you that, oh, they're gonna steal you and they're gonna take your passport. Like, no.
Because also you stayed at our home with my family.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how you felt like going to the first meeting with me with my whole family there. Like,
Yeah.
what was going through your mind? Like, didn't you think like, oh no, they're gonna do something to me or like something weird?
I mean, I think since the day we started talking, and I'm really good at reading people. So it wasn't that instant that I met you today and next week I'm flying to Mexico.
Yeah,
that
no.
wasn't the case. So we spoke for almost 4 months, right? So I mean, obviously we had calls and you discussed about your family, and then you gave me that sense of comfort and understanding that, okay, you belong to a good family,
Yeah.
and you care about your family, and you guys as a family are pretty cool, chill people. So I had no doubt.
Yeah. I think that was one of the main foundations of our relationships. That we're like so close to our families.
Correct. And I think since the beginning, since the beginning, since the beginning, I think we have involved our families, because when I met you and I made a decision to fly to Mexico, I asked permission from my mom and dad.
Oh, you asked? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Because I wanted them to be a part of it,
Yeah.
right? So I said, okay, I met this girl, she's amazing, I'm flying to Mexico. So
What did they tell you? Like, were they concerned, nervous?
it wasn't that surprising for them, because I think since my childhood I have been very close to them, and I respect them a lot. So I pretty much share everything with them, right? So I was like, okay, I'm making a big decision of my life. At least someone should know.
Yeah.
And also, if something happens to me in Mexico, my mom and dad can interrogate and figure out what the hell is going on,
Yeah,
right?
like he went to meet this girl with this family.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean.
Jokes apart. But yeah, I mean, I wanted them to be in the loop, because I love my family and I share everything with them.
Yeah.
And obviously, the girl I was making all that effort for was worthwhile, which was you. Otherwise, why would I bother,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I told my mom. Well, I kind of prepared her because it was probably like a month after we started talking, or like a month and a half, something like that. I asked her like, how would you feel, or like what would you think if I dated someone out of my religion? Because you're like Indian and I'm Catholic, right? She was kind of like, what? Taken aback for that question. And she was like, no, like, it's good. Like, you get to know more cultures or religions.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Like, I'm not against it. I was like, okay, good.
I
And that's
think-
it. I never told her, like, oh, I'm talking to this, or like, that's it. And then eventually, like, when you were flying, I told my mom, like, okay, he's gonna come, this happened, blah, blah. I had to like come clean about it. And she was like, oh, so that's why you asked me that a while ago.
Yeah. And I think, like, we are very open-minded, Because if we were not, then I'm Hindu, then why would I bother even going out of my religion, right?
We wouldn't be here if we were.
Exactly. So it doesn't really matter. It's a matter of love, respect, and
Yeah, that's it.
how you guys connect, basically, right?
That is it.
Yeah.
So what things have you like learned while being in the long distance relationship? Now we're like together. We're
Yeah.
already married. But what did you learn?
I think the biggest learning for me is communication, because if you cannot express yourself how you're feeling about the other person, I mean, beside that, you have to talk.
Yeah.
And you have to make it as a habit. Because obviously, if you're not meeting, then what's the other mode of
Yeah.
communication?
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, it's one of the main foundation. It's literally the main foundation of a long distance relationship to make it work. And I was really bad at that.
I can.
That is one of the things that I would change about
Yeah.
our relationship, but like I can't do anything about it now. But I'm still trying to work on it because I was never used to talking on the phone with anyone because I live with my family, so I can just talk to them in person. And you were living here, so I guess you're like, I know you talk to your family like on the phone like almost every day. So you were kind of used to that, but it was something like completely new to me.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing I hated the most about our relationship, because there were instances where I called you, let's say I call you today at 4 p.m. and you're, not called, maybe even drop a text message, and you're replying me next day at 2 p.m. So what does that tell me?
Yeah.
Right? But I didn't know that you were not used to the communication and sending text messages or calling,
Yeah, and I mean, it's not an excuse or anything.
Yeah.
It's just something that I had to work with.
Yeah.
Because it was also like my first long distance relationship. So I was like, or sometimes I just left my phone there and I just went to do some other things.
It's all right. We all have flaws. I
Yeah.
think it's more like a work in progress for you. So I think eventually it will get better someday.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the things I learned. Like, you have to make time for it. Because living apart, it's easy to just each other do your own things and just forget about it.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a job. You have to put effort to extract more out of it.
Yeah.
Because why are we doing all this? To be together, to get married, to spend our life together.
Yeah.
But if you cannot communicate, if you cannot respond to my calls or messages, then I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
And there were times I felt like that. But it's okay.
You forgive me now.
I forgive you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think another learning for me is it's not for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because there were points in our relationship where I was like, I want to take a break. It's not working out. First reason, communication, because we were not talking constant, and that was bothering me a lot. And then obviously, how are we gonna fly? How are we gonna meet each other and things like that. So it's not for everyone.
Yeah. You have to come up also with like creative ideas
Oh yeah.
for dates, because it's hard to just like, oh, let's go to the movies. Like, how?
Yeah.
So we were doing like watching movies together. Like, we had the phone here and the laptop here. Watching
Netflix
it together.
party.
Netflix party.
Yeah.
We watched like a couple shows, I think. Like, we also played games at one point.
Yeah.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like come up with different things like, to make it exciting,
Yeah.
because then it gets just boring, like seeing the screen, and it's not only boring, it's like kind of depressing, like, oh my god, I'm here and you're there, why aren't we together, you know?
You have to keep it engaged, I think.
Yeah.
Because every day, if you're trying to send a message or make a phone call, what are you going to talk about?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much everything, every day is the same
Yeah.
thing. How are you? What did you eat?
And
How's
especially
family?
when you're like working from home or something like that, it's like, well, I'm just here, like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to
Yeah.
talk about?
Exactly. So bringing those activities bring, I guess, engagement and joy. And
Yeah. And also you gotta let the other person into your world. Like meet your friends, like talk about your interests. So you know if it's actually like a match or like why am I here for, you know?
Yeah. Is there something you would like to change about long distance relationship?
To change, well, just as I said, like communicating better. That was like all on me because you tried like a lot. I can't even show everyone like all the missed calls that I had from you.
So you were ignoring me.
No, I wasn't. That's why it's missed. No, sometimes actually like I was not feeling good, but again, communication wasn't my strong like skill. So I couldn't tell him like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling up to the weather, like, you know, because that was mostly during COVID, I think.
Yes.
And COVID was like a strong hit to our relationship.
It was such a big emotional stress.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously you cannot meet each other, but on top of that, what was going on in the world,
It was so hard.
It was messed up, honestly.
We couldn't meet for like a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
Because we had to wait until they revoked all the restrictions for flying and all that. It got very shaky.
Yeah.
Like our relationship was like in shambles.
And I think that was the period when I asked you, let's take a break.
Yep, I remember perfectly.
Yeah. Because obviously I cannot fly.
You kind of.
And then you're not replying.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, let's take a break for maybe a month. So we can refresh our brains and then come back again.
Yeah. And I remember that I was like, why does he want a break right now? Like, what is his deal? Because you were planning to go to India. And I was like, no, he's gonna go meet other girls. I'm sure his family has already like a line of girls for him to meet. So I was like, you know what? I don't do breaks. We either break up now or just fight for this.
Yeah.
And you chose to fight.
Because you were thinking, oh, he's getting rid of Latina.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't the case. I mean, I told you how I was feeling, and I wasn't happy about it. Because, as I mentioned, I was in a relationship not to waste my time.
Yeah.
So if I feel some way, I told it to you, and yeah, fun times.
Fun times. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was so confused, man.
Yep.
Yeah, it got very, very hard, very difficult during COVID. It was not a good time. I mean, it was not a good time for anyone. Like in general, but...
Yeah, because pretty much no one can fly.
No one could even meet.
Yeah, international travel was like banned, right?
Yeah.
So it took almost a year and a half.
But also I think that's the time where most long distance relationships were made. Because I think there was an app that you could go in and see people from everywhere. I'm not gonna say the brand because we are not being sponsored yet.
Yeah.
So.
As opposed to that, there were also many divorces and breakups.
Yeah.
Because before you were going on site, working from the office, now both partners are working from
They're together
home.
all day.
Now they can meet their side, front and back chicks and chicas. So it was hard.
And a lot of people decided to move in together. And those were not good ideas because they ended up like really bad.
Because I think people were not ready for that.
Yeah.
Because if you're working from home, also there's a restriction to go outside. And you have to wear a mask, and you were thinking not to step out because of the safety reasons. So you're with your spouse or with your partner pretty much all day. And you cannot go out. And people can take, I guess, too much nonsense from each other.
And like, it won't work for everyone. But it did for us. Yeah, and thanks to me, honestly. Because I decided, like, I gave you kind of an ultimatum. Like, you either break up.
You take it or leave it.
Exactly, literally like that. Because I was like, no, I'm never going to be like a let's take a break, girl. You go explore and then come back. I'm not a side piece. I'm not a second option. I'm the first main dish.
You're the first main butter chicken
Mm-hmm.
with naan and rice on the side.
Delicious butter chicken.
Yeah, I think that's the reason I fought for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew you're the one. And if it's taking longer, if it's more hurdles, making it more harder for me, so be it. Deal with it, and
Deal with it.
if it works, works. If it doesn't, it's okay.
Yeah, and it worked.
Yeah.
It's also important, like, to learn your love language, like how you like to receive love, and also how you like to give love. Because I think your main love language to give is gifts.
Gifts?
Yeah.
Gifts and surprises, yeah.
Yeah.
I did
think
that a
so.
lot for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, what? A lot
Yeah.
of times.
Because I was contacting your friends through Facebook,
Yeah.
sending them money, and then telling them buy flowers and chocolates and make her happy.
Yeah. I remember the first time you sent me flowers and chocolates, I was so happy. Because also, I think it was for my birthday, right?
Yeah.
And also I was sick that day.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of lifted my spirits a little bit. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I think it's also regard to your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily that you have to send money, you have to buy them stuff,
Yeah.
but it's special,
Yeah.
and I think it's cool.
Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this podcast with this amazing gift that I gave you.
Oh yeah. So we are making the best use of this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I also use it for music production.
I think it was for your birthday also, no? Either birthday or Valentine's.
I think it was Valentine's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it arrived late, but it arrived.
Yeah. And I was so happy getting this one.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking to buy a recording mic for me.
Yeah, I know.
And before I could go and, buy one for me, I had this already. So thank you.
No problem, baby. So, any advice you want to give to everyone?
I think we have covered pretty much the main things.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to advice, number one thing is communication. Communication, communication, and communication. If you cannot express how you feel about your partner, and if you're not talking constantly doesn't mean you have to bug her at 9 p.m. and make her talk to you. Not that kind of thing.
Something I forgot to mention, and I think you also did not mention, you have to trust.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
each other.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because also, if you were always like, oh, where are you? Who are you with? Like, I would have been like, you know what? Bye.
Yeah.
You are not my mom or dad. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But we were like, oh, we're like, whenever you were with your friends, like, oh, we're going to a bar or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, have fun. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, send pictures or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
I was actually coming to that. That was my second point.
Sorry.
And that's okay. Regarding, obviously, you have to trust your partner.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be their mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, sort of put them on a radar.
Yeah, that's kind of controlling.
Exactly. And it's a matter of trust. Like, regardless of where you are at in the middle of the night, I trust you.
Yeah.
And I'll drop a text that whenever you get home, let me know.
Yeah.
So, obviously, trust and communication. I think those are my top two when it comes to giving advice to whoever wants to be in LDR. Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, if you're not 100% convinced, don't even try it. Because you're just wasting like your time and the other person's time.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta be patient. If you decide to go into it, you gotta be patient because it's not something that happens instantly.
Exactly.
You have to create trust.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, please be safe. If you're meeting this person and you've never seen her, like her or him or whatever, on a video call or whichever, however way you want to see, like let people know about it. Like, because there's been a lot of cases that have been so bad.
Absolutely.
Have ended tragically.
Yeah. Because many people have been robbed, even murdered.
Yeah.
And just make sure you're talking to a legit person have video calls, don't make any money transfer.
Even don't go meet them alone. You can take a friend or like someone you trust
Yeah.
to meet them, even if they're not sitting like right next to you, but like on another table or on another chair behind
Mhm.
you, just to so you're safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Because more than LDR, I think your life matters the most. And LDR can wait. Best person in your life, whoever you're gonna marry, can wait. But just be safe and don't be stupid.
Yeah,
That's pretty much.
that's pretty much it.
Thanks for sparing time and being a part of this podcast. We really appreciate your support. Like, comment, subscribe, and be a part of this journey. We're gonna drop more podcasts in coming weeks. So stay tuned and enjoy. Peace.